Toulmin's model of argumentation. As I said, this model is named after Stephen Toulmin, who was a famous British philosopher of science, and this model provides an organizational structure for constructive, critical and persuasive arguments, specifically for situations where there is no clear-cut answers. So this method involves 6 basic components that weigh and support the pros and cons relative to an argument, and by applying this model you will see that your argument will be more reliable, credible, less susceptible to rebuttals, and in general more efficient and effective. Thus, the model is useful for ensuring any argument is written in a logical way. So that's why I would like to review it briefly. How I want to do this is to first look at the 6 components in bullet points, and then move on and try to analyze them in more detail and say something about each of them. Let's start with the first component, which is the claim, the position that is being claimed, essentially the conclusion of the argument. Then you have, according to Toulmin, the evidence, which is the reason that is supporting this claim. Then you have the warrant, which is the principle or the chain of thoughts that connects the evidence to the conclusion, to the claim. Then you might have the backing. We will see why I say might later on. So that's something that supports the justification or provides evidence for the warrant, for the chain of thought that we just said. Then you must have, and this is very important in every argument, some sort of objection and rebuttals. So you have exception to the claim, to the conclusion, and then a way to answer to these objections in the form of counter-arguments, which shows how the objections were floated. And then you must have some sort of qualifier, which specify the limits of your claim, the degree of certainty of your claim. Okay, so these are the 6 components of this method. Now I'm going to review them one by one, a bit more precisely. Starting with the claim, the first triad, and with the claim, which is the first point of the first triad. So the claim is the point an arguer is trying to make, or the assertion one wishes to prove. And according to Toulmin, there are 3 types of claim: fact-based claims, that are claims that focus on empirically verifiable phenomena; judgment and value claim, which are claims involving opinions, attitude and subjective evaluations; and policy-based claim, which are claims that are advocating courses of action that should be taken. Then there is the evidence. Remember, the evidence is essentially what provides evidence, support for the claim, for the conclusion. Evidence might consist of, but of course it's not limited to statistics, quotations, report, findings, or any other form of data or reasoning. Then you have the warrant, which serves as an underlying connection between the claim and the evidence. That is, it suggests why the evidence supports the claim. Thus, a warrant is the chain of reasoning that connects the evidential support to the claim. Then you have actually there is something a bit more to say about this. According to Toulmin, there are 6 strategies in which the relationship between a claim and the evidence can be developed and are often established. These argumentative strategies are used at various levels of generality and within an argument, and they're typically interconnected. So in an argument you can find, for instance, generalization next to analogy, next to causality. In another you can find authority next to analogy or next to causality. So yes, this is very important. About the second triad, and here is the backing. The first element is the backing. The backing is the evidence that is supporting the warrant, like the evidence. Well, it might consist of statistics, quotations, report, findings, and so on. However, there is a big difference between the claim, the evidence, and the backing, because the backing is not necessary to an argument. It can strengthen it, whereas the evidence is absolutely necessary to it. In other words, you can forget about the backing, but you really need to provide evidence for your argument. The fifth component of Toulmin's model is, remember, objection and rebuttals. This means raising a number of objections to the claim that is being made, and then showing a way to mitigate this objection by suggesting reasons that show how the argument is floated, the counter-argument, sorry, is floated, or how you can weak its significance. This is actually a very important part of the process of writing an argument, because often students forget about this. They just write what they think, but they don't confront objections. Objections are crucial to an argument, are crucial to writing a paper, so, and are crucial to refining the quality of your paper. So remember, whenever you write something, you need to address some positions that might counter your own. So that's the fifth, sorry, it's quite long, the fifth component. And the sixth component is the qualifier. Qualifier limits the strength an arguer attributes to a claim. So qualifiers are usually associated with concerns about the soundness of evidence of the existence of valid counter-arguments. So essentially, they convey how confident the arguer is in the claim, often by stating or implying the likelihood the claim is correct. This can go from absolute uncertainty to absolute certainty. When you write a paper, it's good practice normally to position yourself between possibility and likely, or between likely and probably, even if it can sound arrogant, because you want to leave space open for future research. So you want to acknowledge that you are making a contribution, but you also don't want to say the field is done with me. You want to leave something open for others to research. Okay, so this is Toulmin's model. So as you can see from this model, argumentation is a key to critical thinking. Arguing, as opposed to simply disagreeing, is the process of intellectual engagement with an issue and an opponent with the intention of developing a position justified by rational analysis and inference. So arguments, of course, are premises, those things that we take to be true for the purpose of the arguments, and conclusions or endpoints that we arrive at by inferring from the premises. Understanding the structure of premises and conclusion is crucial to analyze the likelihood of an argument and to assess how sound the conclusion that follows. So arguments in which the conclusion follows logically from the premises are said to be valid, as you may know. Invalid arguments with true premises are called sound. Now here is a nice video which that might help me to get a bit of voice back. And